All right, I'm going to talk about the Serpent Striker. It was asked in the comments on why I don't think this is BiS, and I totally overlooked this weapon. But I'm going to bring up some key points about this weapon that you should keep in mind if you do get your hands on it. So the first thing is the set item, the 150 attack power for 12-second proc is a very, very good proc. The only downside is it has a 2-minute internal cooldown, meaning it can only proc every 2 minutes. So if you were to get this to proc fighting trash or on a pre-rage mob before engaging the boss, you're not going to have the proc for the boss. Now you could run a different offhand for trash and pre-rage mob, and then switch to this weapon right before the boss to guarantee its proc chance on the boss fight. The only thing is I'm not sure if switching weapons puts a 30-second cooldown on the proc. I know for a fact that it does with on-use items like the helmet and the belt, but I'm not sure if it would do it for a proc item. This problem actually happens in raid already with the shoulders and your flask. If they proc on trash or a pre-rage, you're not going to get them in the boss fight unless the boss is longer than 45 seconds, because the shoulders and the flask have an internal 45-second cooldown. So that being said, the set item proc is very, very nice, but it just sucks that it's on a 2-minute cooldown. But on the other hand, the nature damage that it does, the 50 nature damage is pretty good. On top of that, it reduces the nature resistance of the boss by 60 and increases holy and nature damage by 8% for 20 seconds. This is a very, very good rage damage increasing debuff, and it will increase the damage of your enhancement shamans, your Ellie shamans, your marksman hunters, your boomkins, and your prop pallies and rep pallies. I don't play the alliance, so I don't know how much damage they would gain from this, but it does it with the debuff. That being said, though, in the sim, the dire nail seems to sim a little bit better than the serpent striker, but the sim doesn't really tell a full story. It sims roughly 7 DPS less, but it's varying by 3 DPS. And if you look at the max here is 2245, and the serpent is 2324. Now, if you're going for the highest rank one, or the like highest rank for a warrior, you want to be looking at your max DPS. Now, this is over a 1:30 fight, which is like most of the fights in Sunken Temple. But the Dire Nail and the Serpent Striker sim extremely close. So I don't know how accurate this sim is. It is calculating the proc, so I'm assuming it is accurate. But there's also the factor that this would increase your raid's DPS, which would lower the boss's kill time, which would increase the value of all of your damage multipliers. So in my last video, I talked about the dagger being the best offhand. It's really either the dagger or the serpent striker. It's whatever you can get your hands on. If you can get your hands on the serpent striker, then get it. If you can get your hands on the dagger, then get that. And if the serpent striker drops, just get it too, I guess. Don't try and get this over your rogues in your guild, because this is a much better DPS upgrade for them than it is for a Fury Warrior. Fury Warrior offhand doesn't really matter that much. You can run with the Scout Dagger, the Legionnaire Sword, the Flurry Axe, the Tooth of Ranicus. Basically, any axe that drops in the raid is good for your offhand. Even the mace, even this mace is also very good. But I thought I would just make a quick little video talking about the Serpent Striker and the potential problem with the proc and how to avoid getting it to proc and forcing it to proc on boss. since I didn't talk about the offhand at all in the last video. Thank you for mentioning it in the comments. It made me like basically rethink the item and then dive the logs to figure out if anyone's running it and how often it's proccing. And there are a few warriors on the logs that are using it, and they are pumping some pretty crazy numbers. So, closure. The set item is amazing. If you can get your hands on them, get it. If you can't get it to drop, it's not dropping, and you see the dire nail dropping, get the dire nail. It's basically the same DPS increase. You're most likely going to be able to get super high ranks with the dire nail. And if you can't get either of those and you have a lot of gold, buy a flurry axe. And the flurry axe will basically do almost the same amount of DPS since they are extremely close to each other. So that's it. That's all. Bye-bye. GG's.